My name is Truble von D'Trak. It wasn't my first derby name. My first derby name was Tricky Girl. I was named, but another Tricky showed up on my team, and in that period of time, if a player came that had more experience, you changed your name. So I picked Truble von D'Trak. It's close to my name. My name is Teresa, and I probably won't answer to anything else that starts with a T or that doesn't start with a T. So my sons like trains, and we'd always watch Thomas the Tank Engine together, and they always had trouble on the tracks. So I thought it was close, and I picked that one. I started playing in January 2011 for South Coast Roller Derby. I've been here the entire time. I haven't switched leagues. Outside of roller derby, I do environmental science, and I do data management. So any kind of environmental programs in Orange County, I used to go out and collect samples in creeks and oceans, and we used to do chemical laboratory tests on it to see how clean the waters are. And then I used to do data management, manage all the data and report it to the EPA. I actually watched the 2006 series on TV, The Roller Girls, the TexRD kind of reality documentary, and I loved it. I loved the girls. They were just so wild, and they were having the best time of their lives, and it was aggressive, and it looked like fun. And I actually went online and I looked up like roller derby in our area, and I saw Orange County, but it was so far away. So I kind of just, put it behind me a little bit. I had kids, and I couldn't do the commute. And then I saw an advertisement in the local newspaper for South Coast Roller Derby, and they were starting a skating boot camp. I was so bored working out, and I thought, when you're kids, you think about playing. You don't think about standing on a treadmill. You don't think about lifting weights. You just get out of the house and you play. And I thought, what? I want to do that. I want to get out of the house and skate. And I used to skate when I was a kid, and I go, this is something I want to do. Our team was established in June 2009 by 3 OCRG players. They Recycler, Kelcat, and Chris Cross. They wanted to start a WIFTA league. It was one of those things where at that time Orange County was WIFTA, and I think they decided not to pursue it any longer. I don't know why. I don't know the story of that story. So they started South Coast, and we started to be a competitive team. And so we have about 32 girls right now, probably more, about in the 40s somewhere. So we've always been kind of a small team in this area, kind of a little niche. Originally we started in San Juan Capistrano at a hockey rink down there, and then we lost the rink just like many Southern California teams, and we did the rink dance for a few years, and we ended up in Laguna Hills at another hockey rink. So that's where we are now. So at South Coast we have 2 teams. We have a travel team called the Lagunatics, and just the breakdown of the level of the team, we're considered a B team in general, if you consider like with the levels and stuff like that. They are, but that's our travel team. The Demented Danas are a regional team, so we schedule locally with them, and if we can do double headers where we both play, that's kind of great, so we do that. Typically they're usually a mixed team, the Demented Danas. We can have a mix of like some Bs and some Cs, but we try to gear it more towards the bottom of the roster and go up as opposed to top down for Lagunatics. So when we don't tend to have a lot of we don't have a lot of teams because there's a lot of overlap in some cases, but our team is growing, so that might happen less and less. Practice-wise, we practice 3 times a week, 6 hours, 2-hour practices. And in those practices, we have one practice on Fridays. This is, one of the days that we scrimmage half the time so that the girls get scrimmage experience. Typically, our other practices, we run footwork drills. We'll do scripted drills where we have a strategy that we want to work out, and we'll assign roles, and everybody practices the techniques that we learned. And then, we'll do a scripted scrimmage where we want to see certain types of plays. We'll also do things where we run our lines for the games, before games. We'll get people in their lines that they would normally be playing in the game, and we we have them playing their lines to get ready for the games. Also in our derby schedule, we schedule league meetings, but it's kind of like a league party where we get together, we talk about league business, we always bring food. Some of the other stuff we do, we'll go to Not Scary Farm together just to watch our players on the team get super scared of stuff and chase each other around. So we'll do a lot of off-site stuff, like we'll just get together and just have some, food together and watch a game. We tend to watch all of the championships together and, talk about strategy and what the new teams are doing. So that's some of the extra stuff that we do together. So the furthest I traveled with our team, and I think mostly everybody on our team, we went to Vancouver last year to play, and we kind of knew we were probably going to get they were a really rough team, so we knew that this was definitely, we want to go in winning, we want to win, but there's a chance that we might not win. But we wanted to go to Canada. And one of the other reasons why we wanted to go is we have a Canadian on our team, and she's like, finally, I get to go to Canada and I get to hear my anthem being played. But the problem with that was that we played on an Indian reservation and they would not play the Canadian anthem. So our poor Canadian, we had to sing it to her later because she was so sad about it. So locally, we do play a lot of the local teams. Every year we try to go through, at least playing almost all of the teams at least once. Badfish, OCRD, Angel City, any of the teams within Angel City, like the Road Ragers or the Shore Shots. Depending on our level, we'll try to go higher if we can. We also we're probably going to have we're a WIFTA league, so we do play around in our kind of the states that are bordering us. We've been to Utah. We're going to Flagstaff in August. So we try to be as competitive as we can. Financially, it's a bit of a hit. I mean, South Coast is a nonprofit. Nobody owns us. We're skater run. We've always wanted it that way. But with that, that kind of contains the amount of travel that we can do sometimes. So that gets a little bit challenging. Locally, there's so many teams, in this local area. And what I've seen of Southern California skating is that I think it's more geographic. It's more geographic, the reason why there's so much splintering of the teams. It's hard to get to practices with the traffic. There's a lot more teams, and I think that plays into why maybe locally we don't have really large teams. I think with LA, there's more density, so you get bigger teams. Also with the fact in Southern California, every team I know has done the rink dance, where you try to find places to skate. That gets really challenging and expensive. So I think that also plays a part in keeping teams small in Southern California. And those are some of the things, the challenges of playing roller derby in Southern California. I think what would allow me to enjoy roller derby more would be if the communities were a little bit more receptive of the sport. I know it's an alternative sport. It would be nice if there were more venues available that are indoors, because we do have some rain in California. But that would be great if just we could have more places to skate and have the sport kind of grow that way. I think sometimes when you have inconsistent practices due to weather, because we have a lot of outdoor rinks, it gets a little bit difficult to keep our numbers. So if the community was a little bit more receptive to accepting roller derby into their community centers and possibly, other indoor facilities, that would be great. Where I'd like to see the sport go, I think we're heading in a direction that's good. I think we're getting more visibility. I mean, I think last year we had it on ESPN3, but it has to be more. We have to push it more locally, I think. One of the things I mentioned before was, it'd be nice if the community accepted us into more places just within the community to grow in a grassroots level. It's difficult for us to get indoor venues at community centers, and, just the numbers of people kind of getting involved in the sport outside of the sport would help grow that visibility a little bit more. Of course, everybody wants it in the Olympics, but I think we need some steps in between. We need to get maybe more of just general visibility on TV and just get people more involved with understanding the rules, because it is a pretty involved sport. I guess better communication. It's a sport that has a place, and it needs to be more well educated, I think, publicly, or I'll send a message to my future self. I think you worked hard for the sport. You did a good job. You not only played as hard as you could and supported your league as much as you could. You did a good job. Hopefully you're sticking around and continuing to support the leagues or the sport as much as you can in a volunteer capacity, because I think the sport will only grow if people stay in it. So, good job. It's a cruel laugh. I'm an evil person, I'm sorry.